If they can do it, I can do it. And that's the mentality. If somebody else can do it, you can do it. And I said to myself, I will do it and I will do it better. That's the mentality. And I believe with the mentality is 50% of the success in what you're doing.
Winning is a decision. Winning is going to cost you everything, but it's going to reward you with so much more. It is.
This is it. This is the day that you put it all on the line, because everything that you dream of counts on what you do today. No more half in, half out. It is going to take every ounce of you to get to where you want to go. But it is up to you at the end of the day. Will you continue to live a mediocre life, or will you finally put it all out there?
It's not always about winning the day. Sometimes it's about surviving the moment. If today feels heavy, focus on doing one small thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just need to make it through the next hour. One choice, one step, one moment. And when you do, give yourself credit. Because some days, that's a victory in itself.
You have to be able to use what's given to you. And we are unfortunately given way more negative than we are positive. So how are you going to use it? Are you going to use it by letting it, getting shy and sitting in the basement, saying, man, I'm not really ready to play this game? Or are you going to use it like, hey, f you, I deserve this. I'm going to show you, I'm going to prove you wrong. And then in 5, 10 years, you're going to walk in the room and all those people that doubted you, all those people that said negative shit to you, all those people that made jokes to you, all those people that rolled their eyes at you, they're all going to tell you how proud they are. I always believed in you. I remember, and you'll remember too, every single person that ever said negative things to me. I remember all of them. By the time they come back around and say they're proud of you, you don't even need the validation anymore because you already know. And that's the most powerful thing that you can have, your own belief in yourself, proving yourself right, proving that you do have what it takes, and nobody can take that from you once you've built that.
Your growth will frighten people who have no plan on changing.
Don't ask anyone what they think you should do. Make a decision you're going to do this. You're going to make a decision right now, today, that you are never going to lower your standard of living. You have the potential that God gave you. You've got all the potential in the world. Anything anybody else does, you're quite capable of doing. But you've got to make a decision to do it. When you make a decision, the way will always show itself.
Any skill must be nourished over and over again. And this is why skill attained by investing a lot of effort. And the only way in order to express this is by repetitive structure, repetitive movements.
Some people start off with life served to them on a silver platter, and I bet you think that's better. The thing is though, money can't buy purpose, and I guarantee that when you start off with the epitome of what people deem successful, and you did absolutely nothing to get there, the emptiness is haunting. Everyone is the victim of something, but it's only those that find meaning in their struggles that eventually become their own hero. When you take resistance away from a person, they're left with no reason to push. So your situation, though it's heavy by nature, is exactly what you need to keep going.
Remember this, is that people are time wasters, and the great majority of people have no goals, they have no priorities, they have no plans, they have no concern about becoming successful, and they think that you're the same. They think because their time isn't worth anything, that your time isn't worth anything also.
Always directly approach what you want is the wrong way. Why? Because it is one-sided. You want freedom? Face the structure. Face the hard discipline. Because if inside this hard structured form you are able to have the freedom, you feel free inside this hard form, that is the freedom.
The axle around which the wheel of life turns is goals.
This is why a goal is so important. because we will become that.
We become what we think about. Now, it may be fantasy at first. It might even appear to us as being a lie. But if you read it often enough, you'll start to believe it.
Every day is a good day if you make that the case. And I don't mean having some fake positive attitude towards the day. I mean actually making it a good day through what you control. You see, people think that having a rock-solid routine fixes everything, and it might fix some of your problems, but it doesn't build immunity to external problems. The goal is to build the highest minimum possible in terms of what you carry out on a daily basis. You see, in my case, my worst day possible where things go horribly wrong and I achieve nothing, this is what I like to call the best worst case scenario. Life becomes very problematic when you leave everything in the hands of happenstance, because when things inevitably go wrong, you'd be left with the feeling that there's nothing you can do to progress life towards being better. Take advantage of what you control and you will no longer be left with that feeling. You can exercise, you can eat healthy, you can think intentionally, and you can make these things the baseline accomplishments of every single day.
Your new life is going to cost you your old one. It's going to cost you your comfort zone and your sense of direction. It's going to cost you relationships and friends. It's going to cost you being liked and understood, but it does not matter. Because the people who are meant for you are going to meet you on the other side. You're going to build a new comfort zone around the things that actually move you forward. Instead of being liked, you're going to be loved. Instead of being understood, you're going to be seen. All you're going to lose is what was built for a person you no longer are. Let it go.
The strength in loneliness and heartbreak. Loneliness and heartbreak. Two things that everyone fears, but no one escapes. These are the moments when life feels like it's been stripped bare. When the world seems a little colder, and the weight of it presses down on you in ways you didn't think possible. But here's the truth. It's these very moments, these periods of isolation and pain, that have the power to change you in ways nothing else can. They break you open, they strip away the illusions, and they force you to confront yourself. And it's in that confrontation that you start to become something more. When you're in the middle of it, when you're feeling the sting of being alone, or the ache of a heart that's been broken, it's easy to think that this is all life is, that this is how it will be from now on. But loneliness, just like heartbreak, is temporary. It's not a life sentence. It's a season. And like any season, it's there to teach you something. It's there to give you perspective. When we're surrounded by people, by noise, by distractions, it's easy to lose sight of who we are. It's easy to drown in the external and forget about what's happening internally. But when you're alone, when there's no one there to distract you from yourself, you're forced to confront your own thoughts, your own feelings, and sometimes your own pain. And while that might sound terrifying, it's also where real growth happens. Loneliness shows you who you are without the noise, without the validation of others, without the constant need for approval. It strips away the need to perform, the need to be something for someone else, and forces you to be you. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you get to hear your own voice clearly. And heartbreak teaches you something different. It shows you that love, for all its beauty and all its power, is fragile. It can break, and when it does, it leaves you questioning everything: your worth, your future, your past. But it also teaches you something profound. It teaches you about resilience. It shows you that even when your heart feels shattered, even when it seems like the pieces will never fit together again, you can still survive. You can still heal. And when you do, you become something more. The broken parts of us, the parts that have felt pain, that have experienced loss, that have known loneliness, they don't weaken us. They make us stronger. They make us better because they give us depth. They give us perspective. They teach us to appreciate the moments of connection when they come, to value the people who truly see us, and to understand that life, in all its messiness, is still worth fighting for. You see, the beauty of loneliness and heartbreak is that they teach you how to stand on your own. They teach you that you don't need anyone else to define your worth, that you don't need constant affirmation to know who you are. And when you come out the other side of that, you're stronger, not because you've been hardened by the pain, but because you've learned to embrace it. You've learned to take those broken pieces and rebuild yourself stronger than before. There's a Japanese art form called kintsugi, where broken pottery is repaired with gold. The cracks and breaks are highlighted, not hidden. And the piece, once repaired, becomes more beautiful because of those breaks, not in spite of them. That's what heartbreak and loneliness do for us. They crack us open. They expose the parts of us we might have tried to hide. But once we heal, we're not weaker for having been broken. We're more complete, more real, more ourselves. Loneliness teaches you self-reliance. It teaches you how to be with yourself. And that's something most people never learn. They run from themselves, from their own thoughts, from their own solitude. But when you face it, when you sit in it, when you learn to embrace it, you discover that you are enough. Just you, without the need for external validation, without the need for anyone else to tell you that you're worthy. And heartbreak, it teaches you that nothing is permanent, not even the pain. It shows you that love is not about never being hurt, but about learning to love even after you've been hurt. It's about resilience. It's about vulnerability. It's about learning that you can survive the storm and come out the other side stronger, with a deeper understanding of what it means to care for someone and to care for yourself. We often think that the goal in life is to avoid pain, to avoid loneliness, to avoid heartbreak. But what if those things are the very things that make us who we are? What if the broken parts of us, the parts that have been shaped by isolation and loss, are the parts that give us our strength? Because here's the thing. Everyone wants to be strong, but no one wants to go through the fire. Everyone wants to be wise, but no one wants to be broken. But wisdom doesn't come from a life without scars. Strength doesn't.
Let your silence be loud. There's a certain kind of power that comes from doing what no one expects of you. The kind of power that doesn't need announcements or declarations. It doesn't need validation from anyone. It simply exists, building quietly in the background while the world watches and waits for you to fail. You know what I'm talking about. You've felt it. People watching, doubting. Their words, sometimes subtle, sometimes outright, telling you that you're not going to make it. They'll smile to your face and talk behind your back. They'll underestimate you, ignore you, maybe even pity you. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can feed into the noise, you can react, you can shout back, Or you can choose to let your silence be your weapon. Because the truth is, the loudest victories are the ones nobody saw coming. The thing about success, real success, is that it doesn't come from the need to prove something to anyone. It comes from the discipline of shutting out the distractions, of working quietly, of letting the results speak for themselves. It comes from knowing that the journey you're on isn't about applause or approval. It's about something deeper, something quieter, a hunger that no one else sees but you. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. You don't owe the world a justification for your goals, your dreams, or the path you're on, because they won't understand it anyway, not until they see it. And that's the beauty of this game. While they're busy talking, doubting, and watching for signs of weakness, you're moving in silence, getting stronger, getting smarter, getting better. And by the time they realize what's happening, it's already too late. The work is done. The success is in motion. Understand this. People are quick to doubt what they don't see. They'll doubt your potential because they don't see your struggle. They don't see the sleepless nights. They don't see the hours you've poured into mastering your craft. They don't see the sacrifices you've made, the times you've stayed silent when you could have spoken out. They only see the surface, and that's where they'll misjudge you every time. But that's exactly where your strength lies, in the fact that they can't see it coming. The quiet work, the behind-the-scenes grind, is what separates those who talk from those who execute. And the ones who are truly great at what they do, they don't need to shout. They don't need to explain themselves to the world every step of the way. They know that when the time is right, the work will speak louder than any words ever could. Let me tell you something. The most satisfying victories are the ones where people don't even realize what you're capable of until it's already done. The moment when those who underestimated you are left with nothing but their own silence. It's not about showing off. It's about outlasting the noise, outworking the doubters, and understanding that the best form of payback isn't an argument, it's undeniable success. Think of it like this. The loudest ones in the room are often the most insecure. The people constantly telling you what they're going to do, how great they are. They're often trying to convince themselves. But when you're truly focused, when you're truly locked in, you don't need the noise. You don't need the validation. You don't need to announce every move you make, because the work you're doing in silence is going to be felt in ways no words could ever capture. Success is the quietest revenge. So don't waste your time arguing with those who doubt you. Don't waste your energy trying to prove something before it's done. Let them talk. Let them assume you're not going to make it. Let them think they figured you out. Because every second they spend doubting is a second you're spending, building, growing, perfecting your craft. And when the time comes, they'll realize the gap. They'll see that while they were making noise, you were making moves. And by the time they understand what's happened, you'll be too far ahead for their opinions to even matter. Let your success be the thing that shocks them. Let your results be the punchline to every joke they've made about you. And the best part, you won't need to say a word. You won't need to justify the long nights, the sacrifices, the grind they never saw. The results will speak for themselves. Because here's the truth. When you're truly focused on your goal, you don't have time to be loud. You're too busy working. And that's what they'll never understand. That the real work is quiet. It's unglamorous. It's repetitive. But it's in that quiet that you find power. It's in that silence that you become unstoppable. So keep moving, keep grinding, stay quiet, stay humble, and let the results do the talking. Let your success shock them into silence.
You can't see the proper light if you have never indulged in the very, very deepest dark times.
I heard you say there's only one thing I dread, not to be worthy of my sufferings. What's that?
There's a few meanings behind that. I think it's how you handle your sufferings. You know, when you're going through something really challenging, how do you show up within it? Do you choose to become a victim of complaining and misery and shitty, or do you find meaning in how you show up in the suffering? You are suffering, but you are choosing to find meaning in how you handle the suffering, and that makes you so worthy of the suffering, and it's such a beautiful thing to experience. And you know, when life throws some shit at us, you're going to go through this pain, you're going to go through the suffering. How are you going to choose to show up? Like I was talking about before, there are things out of your control. What's in your control? How can you take that power back into your own hands? And what are you going to take from it? What kind of meaning can you find from taking power out of what you feel powerless in?
You're torturing yourself. You are literally torturing yourself because you made mistakes in the past. You are not there anymore. You cannot keep playing this game of making things right by doing what feels wrong. I know you did it before and it led you astray, but let's be really honest, you knew that that wasn't the way. And so please stop hurting yourself and the people around you. This is not it. This is not even you. You are so much wiser and smarter, and so please stop torturing yourself into making the right decisions. What's right doesn't come from pain.
There's a part of me sometimes don't want to be hopeful. You won't see me down there by the hope pond, putting hope meat on my hope hook and just hoping I catch something. You won't, so I don't want to be hopeful sometimes. It's hard if you feel like life has burnt you a little. If you feel like the past wasn't what it was supposed to be for you, you don't want to be hopeful anymore. I didn't want to be hopeful because it's if I admit to the world that I'm willing to have hope, then that means I'm not willing to hold a grudge. It's hard to let go of those those things that are, because they give me power. But man, if I want to let go of that and reach for that hope, that things could be different.
If you ask for a lot, then it's only fair that you expect to go through a lot. You know, you can't ask for hard things and then expect an easy life. So yes, you know, some days it will be hard. Some days you will be tired. And yes, some days you will question and doubt yourself. But just always remember, you had a vision. And this is what it takes in order to turn it into a reality. So you gotta make that decision for yourself, whether you down for that ride or not.
You feel like you're missing out on all the fun. Me too. Everyone else has more friends. Everyone else does the fun stuff on the weekends. Everyone else gets all the attention. We're missing out on a lot, and it doesn't end there. We're missing out on the endless search for acceptance from an empty source. We're missing out on the constant need to mask the reality of who we are. We're missing out on the acting like everything is okay and shutting down when the crowd is gone. So yeah, we're missing out. But I think that's just fine for now.
Procrastination is a thief. It steals your dreams, your time, your potential. Each time that you say, I'll do it tomorrow, you let another piece of your future slip away. And it feels harmless in the moment, just a small delay, a temporary pause. But those moments add up, turning days into years and dreams into regrets. Procrastination is a slow poison. It does not destroy you all at once, but it will eventually. Act now before tomorrow becomes a memory of what could have been.
During the days where I didn't want to go, or I was tired, I was sore, this, that, or the other, I still went. Because if I'm gonna go to practice and I'm gonna get 10%, 20%, 30% out of that day, it's better than getting 0. So I was always taking steps forward. And that's why everything worked out. And I can guarantee you there was probably 100 days where I didn't want to do anything. I wanted to stay in the pool or stay in my bed and not get out. But those were the days where you have to. You have to get up and do something, because I think that's really what separates the good from the great. The greats do things when they don't always want to do them.
Convince yourself that you can make it happen, even when the odds are stacked against you and the path seems unclear. Believe in your vision that nothing can break you, because that's what it takes. An unbreakable belief that no matter what, you'll figure it out. Because the alternative is where failure lives. Doubt and hesitation are the quickest paths to self-sabotage. You don't need a cheering section behind you. What you need is to trust that you have everything inside of you to win. When you commit to that level of belief, sooner or later, it will all fall into place.
It's our darkness that brings us closer to one another. It's all the shared broken pieces of our souls. Don't be ashamed of your darkness. All the mistakes that you've made have made you. Redemption is always on the other side of a moment. Every passing moment is another chance to turn it all around. Keep fighting. Don't go gently into that good night. For as long as you are here, hope dies last.
Someone who does not acknowledge the dark side of themselves and who is only good because that's all that they know how to be and that's all that they know of themselves is not really a good person, because they're only doing what they know, versus someone who's delved into the darkness of humanity, the pain of it, the despair of it, and then chooses to be good and chooses to do something. That's the true good person, right? That's the person we're all aspiring to be. Not someone who's ignored the pain, but someone who's chosen to do something with the pain.
You have to learn to select your thoughts the same way that you select your clothes every day. Now that's a power that you can cultivate, because if you can't master your thoughts, you're in trouble forever.
The gods envy us. They envy us because we're mortal. Because any moment might be our last. Everything's more beautiful because we're doomed. You will never be lovelier than you are now. We will never be here again.
The Persian poet Rumi once wrote, "What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Everything in life is trying to teach you something. You just have to pay attention."
You've got to be ready to change your life. No one said this was going to be easy. You have to keep on keeping on. You think life was meant for the weak? It wasn't. It never was. I'm telling you, just keep on going.
And then climbed back out. That's why we have hero stories, right? There's always the hero has to go through down into hell and then climb back up. And that's what we admire. That's what we respect. That's what we give dignity to. So if we're not respecting that in ourselves, in our own innate ability to go dark and then climb back out, we're not dignifying ourselves.
You've got to be ready to change your life. No one said this was going to be easy. You have to keep on keeping on.
So get back up. Make the most of this life you have. You're here. You're here now. The time is always now.
Nothing in this life lasts, even our troubles. Keep going, my friend. Just keep going.
In the end, it's all going to be all right. And if it's not, then it's not the end. Please just keep going.
Most people know what they need to do, but very few actually do it. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to get better, and way less time actually doing the work. It all comes down to how much you want it. Most people know what they want, but very few people want it bad enough to actually do something about it. So on the days where you don't feel like showing up, are you the kind of person to push past and keep going, or are you the one looking for an excuse to take a break?
And the last thing I think about is like, why not? Like, why not you? Like, why can't you achieve all the things that are in your heart and your mind? Why can't you, break that generational curse? Why can't you get up and start taking those steps? You know what I mean? Why? Like, what's stopping me? And when you really get to the root of what's stopping you, the only thing that is truly stopping you is you, and you have the power to take that stand and to put one foot in front of the other, take it day by day, step by step, and become the person that God made you to be.
You're not what your parents tell you you are. You're not what your friends tell you you are. In fact, you're not even what you tell yourself you are, because you don't even truly understand your limitless potential. So when you live in a situation where you're limited by the opinions and the insecurities and the projections of other people, what you're doing is you're limiting your potential and your growth for self-development. And the first part is understanding that you can become whoever you want to become.
A mystery to yourself. You don't know who you are. You have patterns of behavior and you're not even understanding that. You don't know why you're angry. You think you're angry because that person said something mean to you or did something wrong. But in fact, your anger probably stems from things from deep, deep within, from your childhood. And you're not reacting to that person, but to actually your parents and what they didn't give you. The origin of wisdom, according to the Greeks, was know thyself. And I believe that very firmly, that knowledge about who you are is an end in itself and will help you in so many ways become that human being that I think we all have the potential to become.
Just all the things that you aren't willing to give up for the dreams that you have. And that is what the person who will beat you is willing to give up.
You might slip and fall in the process of trying to achieve your goals, but you need to remember that it's all part of the journey.
You see, many people say they want to be great, but they're not willing to pay the price of greatness. Are you willing to do what most people are not willing to do? Are you willing to put in the work even on holidays? Are you willing to work to perfect your craft even on weekends? Are you willing to study and get better and grow even on the nights you're invited to those parties? Are you willing to pay the price of greatness? Are you willing to pay that entry fee, the cost at the door of what it takes to be great? You don't just stumble upon greatness. You pay the price day by day, moment by moment.
Winning didn't know my name. Winning doesn't know who the hell you are.
You know, winning keeps its hands in its pocket. It's going to keep its hands in its pockets. You know why? Because it doesn't want to point to anybody who isn't worthy. In order to see winning in all its glory, it wants to see you suffer. It wants to know what you're made of.
You stay in environments where people don't recognize the value of you, you will shrink your gift to the size of what they can stand. And that's what causes anxiety and depression and stress, because you have had to shrink into a form where people can tolerate you.
I don't wait for the perfect moment. Usually the perfect moment is now. The right time to tell somebody that you love them when you feel it is right now. The right time to make that contact, right now. So I want to challenge you today. That call you need to make it now. That email you need to send it now. That chapter you need to write, that copy, that funnel, do it now. I love knocking things off the list because that creates momentum. And the more you do this, ironically, you will develop confidence in yourself to be able to attack things in the moment.
Not just about you. It's not just about whatever you're going to get. It's about the example that you're setting for every single person around you. It's the example in your household. It's the example in your neighborhood. It's the example in your community. And if we all took that seriously, the world wouldn't look the way that it looks. You have an obligation to extract the potential that is within you. You were given gifts. You were given a purpose. You may not know what they are yet, but it is your duty to figure out what they are. It is your duty to become the best possible version of yourself.
And you figure out who you are and what you want to do, and you devote your life to it like a maniac, like you're all in on this thing, and you manifest. Most of these people end up doing what they say they're going to do and being who they say they're going to become. It's real.
Okay, each and every day I'm just going to try to progress little by little. I'm going to try to take small steps each and every day. Understanding that every day is not going to be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to have days where I mess up, but that's okay because we're focused on the progress. We're not focused on trying to be perfect. And when you focus on the progress, that means even through mistakes, you're looking for the lessons and the ways that you can grow and progress through the mistakes.
The important thing is that you just keep climbing. Even when you do slide back, you're never at the bottom, because you're always higher up than when you started.
If you want something bad enough, you can't let anybody tell you you can't do something. I'll repeat that. If you want something bad enough, you can't let anybody tell you you can't do something, not even yourself.
You need to work on yourself. If you just try to be pampered, and if you're trying to be soft, and if you're trying to be the victim and all stuff, you're not going to go anywhere. We need to get stronger. We need to get tougher. We need to not be afraid of failure. We got to go into the work. We got to face adversity. Adversity breeds character. There's strength. We have to be willing to go through hardship, through suffering, through pain, through crying periods, all of that stuff. Don't shy away from any of that because it just makes you stronger.
There will be days when you give every ounce of yourself, every ounce of your soul, blood, sweat, and tears, early mornings and late nights, and not see any result from all of your hard work. And the most difficult part of all of that is knowing you have to show up the next day and do it all over again. And you may not see the result immediately. It may not come next week. But believing that eventually the result will come is what makes a champion.
There's going to be days where you don't feel like showing up. There's going to be days where you're paralyzed by self-doubt, and days where the distance between where you are and where you want to be is overwhelming. I'm here to tell you that the only way to keep inching forward when those days happen is to be committed to the process. Because the ones who stay consistent, whether they feel like it or not, are the ones who see the results, not the ones who have conditional commitments on their goals. Keep going.
I think when you feel stuck or dissatisfied in your life, it's a signal. And it's not a signal that your life is broken. It's a signal that one of your most basic needs are not being met. Your need for exploration. And your soul needs exploration and growth. And the only way you'll get it is by forcing yourself to be uncomfortable.
Why is life so hard? Life is never easy. If it's easy, it would be boring. Life should be hard. Embrace the hardness of life, because through those hardships, you're learning, you're molding, and you're becoming a person. So, life should be hard. When you accept that life should be hard, then nothing is hard. Everything is easy, because everything is a lesson that you can learn something from. Every day is a new day to learn something new. So what are you going to learn today?
Sometimes growing and breaking feel the same. I think that sometimes growing and breaking are the same thing. And here's something to keep in mind. In this uncomfortable season of growth, you are not the one that's breaking. What's breaking is everything that isn't you. And sometimes that hurts.
Sometimes you have to go through that adversity and that challenge and that setback to activate the passion and the drive. You know, sometimes it takes the sting of defeat. Sometimes it takes the sting of heartbreak to activate something within you that was needed for you to start moving in the direction that you're meant to move, to get to where you need to be.
The right path is often going to be the hard one. It's going to be the one that requires you to believe in something with no guarantees. The one that asks you to let go of all control and walk forward in blind faith. But you know you're not walking blindly, because you can see it. You can feel that there's no other choice but this. Everything you've been through has prepared you for this moment. Lean into it. Trust it. You're ready.
You know, you have a decision to make. Am I going to stay right here? Am I going to live my life and be happy? Which, by the way, if that's what you want, there's no judgment. But what I'm saying to you is if you're that ambitious now and you don't keep moving, you're going to feel bad about staying in the same spot. So it's important that we set bigger goals and that we continue to progress through life, because we have to have a purpose, we have to have a drive, and the reality is our pursuit of a bigger goal produces a lot of good for people outside of ourselves. So what gifts are you suppressing by staying in that place and being content where you are? How many lives changed? How many new ideas? How much good is now being capped in your jar because you've decided to stay right where you are? That's something to think about.
Stay after it. If you're maybe feeling down or you're not feeling as motivated, that's where your discipline has to really kick in, because the motivation's not always there. The discipline, that's what's got to be your backbone for progress. Even if you don't want to do it or you're not feeling motivated to do it, the discipline will keep you, on that steady upward slope.
Each and every day, I'm trying to be the best I can be in that day. I'm trying to maximize that day, just that day. And I think if we all can shift into focusing on the small, integral steps that go into the big changes, that's when we'll see the most growth and the most evolution in our lives.